But increasingly, we're seeing that the threats to the freedom of speech of American citizens emanate from abroad. A different approach that some of our European allies have taken to freedom of speech has become even more different and systematic and global in nature.
As my voice has been silent so long in the UK, people are cancelled quietly. They just stop being invited to things.
Right.
They stop getting contracts and so on.
It's also probably the chilling effect, right? You put up a tweet, you say something that you believe, and you're met by 5 armed guards who put you in jail. What effect does that have on other people speaking their minds?
The chair recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Kiley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to our witnesses. History shows that freedom of speech is rare and that censorship and repression are common. And perhaps the primary principle that has set the United States apart throughout our 250-year history is our commitment to freedom of speech as the foundation of our democracy and self-government. And yet, even here, we witness threats to freedom of speech from time to time. And thanks to the work of this committee, we were able to uncover the extent to which censorship took hold during the prior administration in pressuring social media companies to censor the content and speech of American citizens. For example, on perhaps the most significant event in generations, the COVID-19 pandemic, individuals were forbidden from positing a theory as to how it started that likely turned out to be true. Or in the run-up to the 2020 election, damaging information about one of the presidential candidates was systematically censored on social media, which the leaders of those companies have now admitted was wrong. Indeed, in response to this committee's investigation, Mr. Zuckerberg of Facebook has stated that it was wrong for that platform to respond to the censorship demands of the Biden administration. Thankfully, we are in a much different place in this country now, although in some parts of the country, there still is an impulse to censor. In my state of California, the governor, Gavin Newsom, saw a parody video that was criticizing Kamala Harris right before the 2024 election, promptly called for a law to ban the video. It was signed. Thankfully, that was struck down by the courts in short order. We still do have checks and balances here. But increasingly, we're seeing that the threats to the freedom of speech of American citizens emanate from abroad, as the different approach that some of our European allies have taken to freedom of speech has become even more different and systematic and global in nature in recent years. So, Mr. Linehan, I want you to just walk us through what happened to you, because you were in the United States, you put up a tweet. You're a comedian, you use some off-color language, maybe different than the way I would say things sometimes, but that's what you do. And you made a comment about the propriety of biological males being in female-only spaces. Can you tell me exactly what happened when you landed at Heathrow Airport in some detail?
Well, as I said, because I'd been arrested before and because I have because I'm sort of the victim of kind of village gossip on a global scale, when the plane actually taxied to a stop and we were kept there for longer than is usual, I sort of immediately knew that I might be about to be arrested. But when I got to the door, I couldn't believe it. There were 5 police, all of them armed, which is standard in Heathrow. But it was a shock, you know. I didn't see how 5 police were necessary, especially as I was coming into the country to testify in another trial, and they would have known that. I have to say, even though it was shocking and unpleasant, and I ended up having such high blood pressure that I had to be transferred to a hospital, in many ways, I'm very glad it happened to me, because my voice has been silent so long in the UK. I'm very much a niche voice because of the kind of control gender ideology has over the whole country, over institutions.
Well, it's also probably the chilling effect, right? You put up a tweet, you say something that you believe, and you're met by 5 armed guards who put you in jail. What effect does that have on other people speaking their minds?
As you know, as you say, chilling effect. Who knows? Who knows what effect it has? You know, the censorship that's at play when it comes to issues around women's rights is a kind of quiet censorship. People are cancelled quietly. They just stop being invited to things.
Right.
They stop getting contracts and so on. So So yeah, that's one of the things I wanted to get across to people, that there's more than one form of censorship. It's not just the government being heavy-handed. It's a sort of orthodoxy that has been imposed across British society, especially in certain industries that attract very privileged middle-class people. So we have publishing, theatre, the media, and the NHS now, which is very frightening. All these institutions have been captured by gender ideology, and no one is objecting to it. Just the fact that no one is objecting to it does not mean that people don't object to it. Do you know what I mean?
That's right. And that is what has been recognized by our courts as the peculiar evil of censorship, is that it ends up silencing a much broader swath of speech and thereby distorts democracy, distorts the values of society, and impedes progress. So that's what we're trying to stop with this hearing today. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Price, I think we've seen you now 4 times. We met you in Brussels. We met you in London. You've come twice to testify here. So we're familiar with your views. I do think you call yourself a civil libertarian, someone who's a champion of free speech. Would you agree with me that nobody should be shot or killed by their government for exercising their freedom of expression?
Absolutely, people shouldn't be killed unless there's obviously there's an investigation, I believe, underway. I think in the instance you're referring to. But
how about reporting on the activities of government officials? Do you think that the public has the right to take notes, to video record, and then to publicly disseminate information about what our police officers, ICE agents, or government officials are doing? Is that part of the freedom of expression?
I think people have the right to share information online, certainly.
Yeah, and our courts have certainly found that. So thank you for coming and contributing your voice on that. Mr. Mayo, thank you for coming all the way from Minnesota. I hope you don't feel like you've entered the twilight zone here. We're having another hearing about the imaginary threat to the transphobic material of Irish comedians against the European Union, and we can't seem to have a hearing about ICE agents shooting Americans in the face for exercising their First Amendment rights. Please give us a sense of your experience of what the topic of this hearing is versus what's going on in our country.
Thank you. I'm here to talk about the most significant threat to free speech in our lifetime. That is not happening online or digitally right now. It is happening on the streets of Minnesota and Minneapolis, as well as the most significant attack on our Fourth Amendment and the principles of the Fourth Amendment and the protections against warrantless arrests as well.
Well, you made a really significant point in your testimony when you said, we, of course, are seeing tens of thousands of Minnesotans out in the streets every day protesting this reign of terror. But you've also said that a lot of people are afraid now to go out because of the violence that's occurred. In other words, those huge protests could be even much huger without government oppression. Am I reading you right on that?
Yes, I mean, so I can't describe in words fully how, disruptive, terrifying, and intense the feeling is in Minnesota right now. People are scared to leave their homes. People are scared to go about their daily business. And I'm not talking about just immigrants. I'm talking about immigrants with legal status. I'm talking about people of color. I'm talking about whole swaths of the community that are afraid to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I'm talking about people who are exercising their protected First Amendment rights of free speech.
Well, are the ICE agents who we see ripping people out of their cars, knocking down doors without warrants, shooting people, are they distinguishing between U.S. citizens and immigrants, or are these authoritarian violent tactics being used against anybody who they perceive to be in their way?
What we have heard, starting when the surge began in late November, we started to immediately hear of reports of unconstitutional activity. The wild use of pepper spray on crowds, peaceful protesters, the pointing of semi-automatic weapons indiscriminately, the deploying of tear gas in playgrounds and in residential neighborhoods, It has been a broad swath of unconstitutional activity.
Well, are the people of Minnesota upset about the way that the European Union Digital Services Act is affecting Elon Musk? Are people talking about that?
I'm here to talk about what is happening on the ground in Minnesota and the most significant free speech issue happening in the country today.
Well, we appreciate the fact that you came, and we appreciate the fact that the ACLU is standing up for people's rights. You've seen lots of rights under attack. The freedom of speech is under attack. The right to assemble peacefully is under attack. The right to petition government for redress of grievances is under attack. The freedom of press is under attack. The Fourth Amendment right not to have your door knocked down without a search warrant based upon probable cause issued by a neutral, independent magistrate is under attack there. All of these things have become the object of destruction by ICE and by the Trump administration. I just wonder if you would reflect generally on the state of freedom in your city.
I can tell you that it feels like the rule of law is under siege in Minnesota.